All right, good afternoon and welcome to the next in the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce and the Smithville Public Library series, our virtual training series. We're very excited today to be welcoming our presenter, Andrea Barfield, who I'm going to allow to introduce herself and tell you all about her. But before we do that, I would ask that Judy Bergeron, our library director, talk a little bit about our funding partners in this program.
Thank you very much, April. I am proud to be able to introduce this series or this continuation of this series. It comes to us from a grant provided from the Institute for Museum and Library Services and the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. It's a CARES grant, and it's in the hope that we can recover from the closure over the last year. And the topic today, I think everybody could use a refresher on. It's a great topic. We can all use customer service skills. And so we're looking forward to hearing from Andrea. And also I want to remind everybody that these videos are available in asynchronous. So if you're not able to watch it right when it's aired live, you can catch up later on and go to the chamber website and they will have all those listed as well. So thank you very much, Andrea, for being here, and thank you, April, for coordinating these.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Judy. And Judy absolutely said what was very next thing on my list, which was if you are unable to catch today's episode live, we will be archiving all of these programs at smithvilletx.org with a link as well on the Smithville Public Library's website. Before Andrea gets started, I just want to remind you again, if you have questions throughout the program, just type them into the chat and we will have a question and answer session at the end. Andrea, with that, I'll let you introduce yourself and take away the program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, April, for the invitation. And I'm excited to spend some time in Smithville, be it virtually. I have set my backdrop to Bastrop County because we are absolutely blessed to have, in the Trails region. We do share Bastrop County with Independence Trail, but we love you all the more because of that, and you get two for the price of one. I'm especially happy to recognize one of my board members, Ms. Gina Carter with Elgin Chamber, and appreciative of all the work that she's done and for recommending that I participate today, because I think it is, as April mentioned, or Judy mentioned, it is the most appropriate time to touch back at reaching people. We have been out of practice for a little while, and it is my pleasure to be here to give this training today. We only have an hour, so the short version of my intro is that I am pleased to have served as the Executive Director of Texas Brazos Trail now for just over 3 years, began in December of 2017. And in my part-time, I serve as a council member for the city of Waco, representing District 1. I think it's imperative that what we do in all of our service training is not just for, our businesses, and it's not just for our organizations that we represent, but as we go and deal and do things for the betterment of our city and dealing with government, all of this, it kind of pulls the same weight. So it's my pleasure to be here. I am very interactive. So if you have a question, please stop me and ask me. We only have but an hour to go through this. There are quite a bit of slides. I am going to be sharing this. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, Miss Sarah.
One quick question. You talked about your free time service. Can you tell us about your other free time service?
Yes, ma'am. I am a proud board member of the Texas Downtown Association, and along with Preservation Texas and the Texas Travel Alliance. I just recently joined that board. So on behalf of all of those things, the Texas Brazos Trail, it is imperative, especially right now as we enter in the legislative session, that we keep tourism and downtowns at the forefront of our legislators' minds. So the advocacy and action of those organizations are top of mind. This is one of the years that we with the help of THC, who is our umbrella organization, Texas Historical Commission, that we may not have to beg for our supper as the Heritage Trails program, but we are serve always at the mercy of the legislature. So we are continuing to stay at the forefront, explaining and championing how important downtowns are, how important our historic assets are, how important historic preservation and its impact on tourism and economic development for our cities is. So all of this is seasoning and feed into the gumbo that we live in travel and tourism. So with that being said, I think it's time for us to talk a little bit about hospitality and customer service training. I think that one of the things that makes Texas Texas is the fact that there is and always has been a welcome spirit in how and why we do things. So we're going to talk about hospitality. This curriculum was created by the Texas AgriLife Extension at Texas A&M University. The program itself has been around for a long time. It ebbs and flows. Let me be completely transparent with you. Right now, there is no one managing this program. So if you were to say, hey, Andrea, I want to be a Texas friendly certified trainer, I don't know that you could do it because there's no one manning that ship right now. However, what we did the last time all 10 trail directors got together, and this was in 2019, end of 2018, 2019, when they were still, rehashing how they were going to do the program. What we did is, we took the program that they had, put a little Heritage Trails on it, and this is what you'll get today. I am going to be sharing my slides with April, so if there is something that you'll need, I'll send her kind of the workbook. If it's not the slides, it'll be the workbook. So you will have the information and can go back and share with your organizations and entities, because this is something that we need to pass down and pass through every piece, every person who interacts and touches and engages with people. We need to make sure that their Texas friendly is on. We've gone through a lot in this year, so it's time for us to just check our boxes and go through it. And like I said, at any time, if you have a question, please pop in and see me. I do like faces, so I know you all are busy, maybe eating lunch while you're learning, but it won't bother me if it doesn't bother you. So if you can turn your screen on, let me see you, because that's how I am a thespian by nature. I was in theater from little, dance and all that business, so I feed off energy, so it's helpful. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation. Everybody good? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am, we can see you just fine.
Awesome sauce. Thank you. All right, so we are like I said, we've done our adaptation with this program with Texas A&M AgriLife for Texas Friendly certification, and all of our 10 trail regions who participate in realigning and reimagining what this program looks like. So Texas hospitality is not new to Texas, and the Texas friendly spoken here is our way of life, and to the extent that in as we and how we do things, this document is 2018. Let me tell you from to 2019, because the 2020 numbers won't be complete until next month is what we've gotten. That it's about $80 billion, 83-ish billion dollars is generated with travelers coming to Texas. And these are they touch every part of what we do. It's not just what we do specifically, but every entity, because when you come, you're spending money everywhere, and it affects the livelihood of cities. So our services and travel related industries create more than 630 jobs, 1,000 jobs annually. I think what the last thing we got was about 652. And what we want to do is make sure that as we're walking through this process, We're training folks that are able to educate and share with their employees, their management, their business partners on how we enhance that experience that our traveler will have, because we want them to come back. As we have gone through COVID-19, we are officially, next week makes a year, which is, I don't know about you all, but it's been such a wonderful, impossible fog that we've gone through in this past year. There are a couple of things that will change with our traveler. Because of COVID-19, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you've been through, if you've had it, if you haven't, if you're vaccinated, if you're not, everyone has had their lifestyle change due to COVID-19, and that creates a layer of trauma, right? So there's two things that we need to make sure that we engage in as we go through this, as we welcome our guests back, as we welcome our visitors, as we engage with our customers, is to offer up two things. If you can offer up these two things, then I think that we'll be able to master anything. You offer a bit of compassion, right? And you offer a bit of grace. Because compassion is the fact that whether or not I have experienced what you've experienced, I feel with you, not necessarily for, but I feel with you. And I will put myself in a position to offer you a bit of leniency and a bit of stretch, if you will. And that's that grace. And I think that if we offer up compassion and grace, then everything else that we need to do, everything from, your first impressions, your eye contact, your communication, all of that will come because I am willing to meet you where you are. Can we agree to that? Can we say that that's fair in how we will deal going forward? Because, and especially now that we are in a new, the word normal is so 2018. We are in a new position as Texas now, because with this week's information from our governor, everything will change again. So, we need to prepare. When Fred Astaire danced, Ginger Roger always said, she did everything he did except backwards and in heels. So we will adjust that way and offer ourselves, our coworkers, our management, but especially our customers, compassion and grace as we pivot to the next level of what we're doing. We have to remember why customer service is important. Why are we having this conversation right now? What we know is that we want to know why customers quit coming to businesses. And what we do know is that in all of the things that happen, most of the time they quit because they were upset with the treatment that they've received. And it doesn't matter, what it is. It doesn't matter what entity it is, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a restaurant, the library, a college or university, hospital, government even, because people do quit dealing with cities as well. They do so because of how they were treated, because of what they did or didn't receive as feedback or getting what they need to feel satisfied and complete in their transaction. So, they're the typicals if you see it on the slide. What some people, of course, they move, 3% move, 5% are gonna develop other business relationships. They may go somewhere else or seek something else or no longer need it. Do the business with the competition, dissatisfied with the product. But most of the time it's about the way they were treated. And I keep this slide in here because of its significance. So the Houston Chronicle in April of 2002, a little bit ago, said that nearly half of those surveyed said they walked out of a store in the past due to poor customer service. Keep that slide in there because the very same thing is still true today, that you're going to lose half of your business because of the way your customer was treated. Oh, wait, no. I did that. My bad. Hold on. Let me go back. There we go. Sorry. So, like I said, customer service is not something that is done to a customer, but rather something that is done for the customer. What have you done to make their experience that much better, that much more complete, that whole? And that's the reason that people will come with you, come to you, stay with you. Um, is their custom how they were treated. So okay, so this is the thing. So whether or not I can see you or not, I'm gonna have to talk to you. Okay, I am born and raised Southern Baptist, and we believe in call and response. So I have a question for you. I want you to think about a good or bad experience as a customer. Not in your position now, not in the leadership role that you sit right now, but as a customer. What I want you to think of the good first. And I'm asking, what was your first impression of the employee that you encountered? That's the first thing I want. What made you remember that experience? And I want to hear from somebody.
I'll speak up because I just had an amazing experience. I went to get my first dose of vaccine at the Bastrop County hub, and they are rock stars. They were so well organized, and everybody was right there ready to help a high number of people that were going through the lines. And each stop that we had to make for paperwork for the actual vaccination, they explained what they were doing, and it was amazing.
Yeah. And you remember that, and you'll always remember that, right? Because of the way they made you feel. They made you feel seen. They made you feel that, whatever question you had, there was someone available to answer you. And you felt that, and you're going to carry that with you. I mean, now, yes, it was the importance of the vaccine itself, but the way that those people interacted with you and engaged with you and made you feel appreciated and seen, that will hold you. Now, just like that, think about a bad experience. Think about a bad experience, and let me hear from somebody else. And tell me about that bad experience. What happened to make you be one of the 50% that will never go or may never? Let me not, we'll use words like may and might. Go back to that business or use those dollars in that way because of a bad experience. Anybody? If not, I got plenty, but I want to hear from you.
I'm listening. I'm just drawing a complete blank. And April, you've got one. Go for it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I will say that I went into a restaurant in Bastrop. I won't say what restaurant, but I went into a restaurant and was never seated, even though there was a big sign that said, please wait to be seated. And there was a strong feeling of that my party was an annoyance because they were very packed. And it seemed to me like they really didn't want us to be there because there were too many people there. So we turned around and left and went to another restaurant. And I will tell you, my husband remembers, that was about 3 years ago. And he's always saying, I don't want to go there. They were rude to us that time. And they upset my mother. And that was 3 years ago. And he still remembers it and mentions it every time I mention going to that restaurant.
Exactly. I mean, and it's because, again, just as Judy mentioned, the way you felt seen and the way you felt appreciated, listened to, that your questions you didn't receive that from that company and restaurant who shall remain nameless to protect the guilty. But that's going to stay with you and resonate with you. I know for me, the positive experience is when I was living in Houston. I lived in Houston for about 14 years, and they opened a Nordstrom's in the Galleria. Yeah, I got a problem. Don't worry about it. And when I had with the fact that I just love shopping there, I had a friend that worked there. She was a makeup artist and she worked there. And so if I was calling to see if Davy was available, so this is a phone conversation, this isn't even in person, they would say, answer the phone and say, thank you for calling Nordstrom. This is Beatrice. May I help you? And, the tone was pleasant. Whatever my question was, she had an answer. And at the end of every conversation, you know, whatever I asked for, she would tell me it was my pleasure to serve. I mean, that means something. Chick-fil-A does that too, but it means something for somebody to say that giving you an answer, helping you was important. That's the closing part. As far as the bad experience, y'all, I mean, I am not independently wealthy. And so I like my dollars to be appreciated. And so I too that will not mention a restaurant to protect the guilty here in Waco. Um, it just when you go in, it doesn't, you're not, it's not welcoming at all. And you feel that, right? And I'm like, well, you know, I work hard for my money. I don't have to pay for something that is not that I'm not appreciated in. And it's not like I need somebody to bow and scrape and love me and my queendom. But what I do expect is that you are happy to see me. Because I am you know, you were selling a service, I am buying a service, you were selling a meal, I'm buying a meal, it's transactional, right? And so I shouldn't be the only one giving. That's the customer. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to give you the energy and my money. Not so much. So we need to make sure that as we go through this process, you know, knowing our customer experiences, both good and bad, that we're offering up good habits that will ensure that we, as people who are giving service, give our best. You know, and what does that look like? So as far as Texas friendly hospitality habits, there are 6 steps. One, make a good first impression, which, you know, is lasting. Two, demonstrate knowledge that you know at least why you're there. You don't have to know everything. No one is saying and expecting you to know everything, but you need to demonstrate knowledge in your position. Three, you need to communicate properly because that's the only way we have to really institute this transaction. Listen effectively. That's something that, you know, everybody doesn't do well, but everybody can learn how. Five, show cultural awareness, and this is not just about um, race or ethnic culture, but it's concerning people with in all walks, whether that be whole healthy, with people with disabilities, people with challenges. Those are things that we need to be aware that all people are welcome and know how to engage without being disrespectful. And lastly is as much as number one is more important as important as number one is making a good last impression, because what's going to happen at that last impression is going to make or break whether or not I come back. So let's jump into this. I don't I what I should have done is kind of ask go around the room to see what type of organizations are represented here. So, you know, I know Judy's with the library, April's with the chamber, Sarah has many hats. If you all wouldn't mind, you know, maybe just shout out where you're hailing from. Um,
Gloria, manager, visitor center.
okay, thank you, Gloria. What about you, Fran?
I was muted. Bastrop County, Smithville.
Okay, wonderful. I have a 512 number, but no name.
It's Sonia Browder, and I'm at the Elgin Chamber of Commerce.
Wonderful. All right. Ms. Alvarez.
I'm Lucretia, and I'm with the City of Taylor and also Elgin Arts Association.
Wonderful. And Ms. Bauer. Well, either way, so I get a feel about where we're going with it. So, you know, let's look at the habits that you have right quick. So with chamber folks, you know, I know that you all are in the business of business and the business of creating economic development. And so that means that you have to have your happy face on most of the time. So I'm going to ask some questions in this exercise. And I want y'all to hop in and just kind of tell me who you are. This is kind of an individual assessment, if you don't mind.
And I'm going to interrupt for just 1 minute and
Yo.
remind people that since our instructor is asking, please feel free to turn your video back on and unmute yourself. Since she would like this to be an interactive portion, please feel free to do so.
I know it's easy, and
That's no
this
problem.
is lunch and learn, so I'm sure, and I appreciate you
Sure.
taking the time, but I don't mind. I scarfed my food down before because I knew I was going to do a lion's share of the talking, but it's not going to bother me at all if you all are eating and working, but because I'm going to be talking to you, so because when we do this in real life, and as we will do this in our next season, because again, the word normal is I said, we will do this in a way that we will be able to interact and engage. But as we go here, let's look at our habits assessment. So the question is how do you rate your current hospitality? 1% being a little bit, 50% being quite a bit, or 100% is a great deal. And making a good first impression. Let's say Judy, as you're with the library, are you greeting customers and making eye contact, on their arrival? If you know their name, are you calling them by their name? The assessment says readily offer handshakes, but I will counter with a good elbow or a fist bump in the COVID era. Are you making people feel welcome and at ease? Those are the things that you need to kind of be thinking about as you're going through this process. Also in the knowledge, can you give your customers accurate information about your businesses? Are you familiar with the company policies, or at least how to find them if you're not familiar? How to get around your community. That's the one that always gets me. There's people who are dealing in chambers and visitors centers and things. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course we know. But, that's something that we have to make sure. And as we train the next people and the folks that we bring in to work with us in this business, that they are aware. And I mean, it's something that's a learned process because, if your cities are growing like I know they are, then there's always something new and you get an opportunity to experience it. But, can you give correct directions to those places? Over yonder is not a place that they can find on the GPS. So you have to kind of know how to get folks around in your community because you want them to experience it all. Can you describe your community's main events? What's coming up on their calendar? What are you known for? What's your heartbeat? Those are the things that we want to make sure that you know. And that you're considered a resource for your visitors. As far as communicating, are you recognizing someone's feelings? That's not always a known thing, and that's something that may have to be learned. But are you at least allowing that space for grace, right? To read someone's face and know that they're in a good mood or they're in a bad mood or they're nervous, or and are you offering some sort of compassion and comfort in that, whatever it is that you're reading? And it may not be 100% accurate, but the fact that you're trying to be an empath at that point and feel where they are. Are you answering questions with clear information, avoiding slang or confusing technical or technological terms? I know a lot of times when we're dealing with, for those of you who engage with your municipals, and when you start talking with the engineers and public works guys and they go totally tech on you and you're like, wait a minute. Well, or maybe that's just me. That's okay, I'll admit that. I was like, speak to me, in a manner that I didn't go to school to study engineering. And so you're making sure that you're able to converse and explain and communicate properly. What are your email tones like? Email and social media tones. What are you saying as you're typing? Because your text language and your verbal language are very different. I know I am diligent in making sure that my emails don't sound as I speak, because I'm colorful and, loquacious and using way too many words to say whatever I have to say. But that's just me. I'm expressive. I'm dramatic by nature. But I need to make sure that my text is clear and concise and to the point. And making sure we communicate that we intend to get things done. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're here. Yeah. What type of listener are you? Are you carefully listening to your customers? Do you hear what actually they need? You're giving your customer your full attention. And I know that's hard because we are all doing 8 million things at one time. But, when someone has a particular need, are you focused in? Are you zeroed in on what that is? Um, in listening. And that's actively listening and not just listening to respond. Are you, if you don't understand, are you asking your customer to repeat themselves? And again, this is just a theoretical assessment. I want you to think about the things that are going in. Like I said, I'm going to send you this. So when you want to sit down and really look at it and flesh it out, you'll be able to write it out. And for cultural awareness, are you using common sense to understand that your customers have different needs? Are you working to solve their problems? Are you understand that different customers with specific needs may have different expectations? Are you able to research who's coming in to your business so that you can meet their needs before they get there? And if you can't solve the problem, you can find someone else who can. But lastly, making a good last impression, are you always asking your customers at the end of your transaction, how was everything? Did they receive everything they needed or wanted? Are you inviting them back? Are you asking them, hey, we want to see you again, or we hope to see you again? You're asking for those of you who need the likes and clicks and reviews for Facebook, social media, Yelp, Google review. Are you asking for that? If something happened that wasn't to their satisfaction, are you correcting that mistake? What are you doing about that part? And are you sending some sort of follow-up? Is there a second step? So we'll break through. And some of the things as we talk and go, I'm going to push relatively quickly. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, or please make sure that you raise your hand and stop me, because we're just moving. So making that first impression. It says, the slide says in 5 to 30 seconds, 3 things are determined about you, whether they're true or false. Most of the times people will make their assessment of you, real life, in how many seconds? Somebody tell me how many it takes to make a first impression.
3 seconds.
Okay.
I thought it was 8 seconds.
Okay. Anybody else?
5.
6 seconds. You've made your decision. Now, again, whether you are sure it's true, whether it is all the way to the other side, you have made your decision in 6 seconds.
Man.
I'm not lying. I make mine in the first 3. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm not lying.
I do
You do,
believe
Sarah. You do.
I absolutely believe you. And most people do it. I mean, everybody, kind of gives and takes in that. But, how do we ensure that we make the most of those 6 seconds? So, I don't know how to be anything but what I am. And so I'm going to give you me, and I'm going to give you my natural best. Now, we're going to have all of our professionalism and our buttoned upness and do all the things. But, what I am in me is going to come out. Okay. So we want you to act naturally and be who you are, because people receive that. We, shameless plug, #Authentic Texas Magazine. But the reason it's called Authentic Texas is because it is the true depiction of Texans and their people, places, and things. It is truth. It is honesty. It is vulnerability at its best. But that's what people receive and they feel the most connected to. So we encourage you to act naturally, but professionally, be courteous and friendly, maintain eye contact, greet folks immediately, smile with sincerity, and, start with a positive attitude. I'm not going to use the word right or wrong because everybody has moments, but, we'll try to start with a positive attitude. and sincerity in your smile is felt. I am, I'm a smiley chick, right? And when I don't give that kind of energy, people know, because it's gonna somewhere be like, that is so fake. And people know, they know, and they're like, oh, okay, this is the kind of day we're gonna have. If you give them sincerity and give them, I'm not saying you have to show all of your teeth, but I'm just offer them some truth in that moment. When you're making your introductions, the eye contact is the most thing. Now, y'all, I'm gonna be totally transparent. I have been an Emily Post nerd all my life. So, etiquette and formalities are my jam. I am a certified etiquette consultant through the American School of Protocol. So I am all about the formality of it. I think it has a pageantry to it that is beautiful, but everybody's not there. And, so when you introduce people, it is just about, typically, the easiest thing to learn, especially for people who aren't into that, is the person of authority first is who you introduce first. It doesn't have to necessarily go by gender or go by age, but it's just the person who is in the introduction is of the highest authority. If you're introducing people by their titles, use it, if that's their preference. If you don't know if it's their preference, the appropriate thing to do is to offer it. And then if they say, oh no, let them correct you always. Don't make assumptions about anybody. Keep the addresses equal. So if I say, I'd like to introduce Miss Fran Hunter, I'd like to introduce you to Miss April Daniels. It's going to be like and like. I'm not going to say, Mrs. O'Brien, this is Fran. I'm not going to do that, yes, ma'am.
I didn't know you had this training. This is a good question. I think everyone in this group does a lot of interactions with elected officials.
Yes.
And what is the proper protocol on using their elected official title when and where? Shouldn't it be always when they're holding office, or how is that? Okay, because I don't see that a lot. I know I overuse yours if somebody else would ask me, but that's a respect thing. So I'd like to hear kind of what that's supposed to be.
It is, if they are elected, then, by virtue of their position, they are that. And so it would be whatever that is. So if it's council member, if you don't know, but they're elected, you can always say honorable. And as weird as that is to me, that is proper protocol. But, so if representative this, congressman that, senator that, council member this, county commissioner that, then that's absolutely appropriate. And you should offer that, especially if their position is important in the introduction. I mean, if we're at the distillery and we're, it may not be the place, but they'll let them tell you.
Well, that's definitely where we're calling you the council member.
Right? Definitely that. But it's helpful that if you say the person's name at least once, because the first time likely is that I've missed some of it. So I always try to repeat, or when I introduce it, I will directly call you by your name, so the person who I was introducing you to has an opportunity to pick it up. And I usually give a little bit of information because people do name associations and like that, and it's helpful. Physical gestures are different, right now, the smile and the eye contact is the thing that's most important to me. Posture is something because it speaks to that you are taking them seriously, and I am taking into account this engagement. It is courtesy. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just courtesy. People are very particular about, hands in pockets sometimes, because it has meant in the past that you are not giving me your full self, or you're keeping things from me. So one day we'll have to get together over a meal, and we'll just really talk about all the hidden things that happen as you break bread and share a meal. Appearance is important, especially in the nature of what we do. Whether it's if your business has a uniform, people wear the uniform. We do not get to, and I'm dating myself, in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he wore his school uniform inside out to show some originality. If that's not, that's usually not what happens in a place of business. So you need to do the things that the employers have asked. You're not going to dress the same for every job, but presentation is key and appearance is important. Dress your best. I'm gonna kind of skip this part because and surmise with this phrase is Deion Sanders is a retired football player. Deion said, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. If they pay good, you eat good. So, dress for success, give your best self and how your appearance is. And it will come off with the people that you're dealing with and interacting with. And we have been, possibly pantless for over a year. So people have no real idea what this is going to look like afterwards because you cannot see what is happening from the waist down here. Funny story, and I told him I was going to tell this story. The first time we had council, and one of my council members, the first time we had it all via Zoom, we did not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The second time the mayor says, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and you saw this look of panic go across his face because he had on gym shorts. So you kind of have to be mindful of where you are. But I know that everything has kind of changed in that we haven't had, to be as buttoned up and as tight as we were in the past. But, how, the positive characteristics and the connection to personal appearance and how you dress is important. Is it going to break the deal? No, but be mindful of where you are. Smaller communities have a tendency to be more or less formal depending on what the nature is. So just to kind of know and read your environment is key. One of the things that we're pushing to is the demonstration of knowledge. In all of your professions that you are, what you know. You want to know what is not a question that you should ever have to say, because as CBB leadership, as Chamber of Commerce folks, as municipal workers, you're expected to know the ins and out of your community. That's a part of knowing your job, knowing, your procedures, knowing how to use the equipment, knowing, what your policies are regarding your customers. Those are things that we're expected to know. Knowing your community, what's happening, where do you find the best this? Now, the best is relative, so be mindful of that. But, those of you in chamber business and CBB business, it's all the best, right? So you have a tendency to share everything. What's going on in your community? Where do you want people to lead? Where do you want them to spend their money? So that's being, the demonstrate knowledge in your job. Communication, how are you talking and engaging with your customers? We especially in our business deal with a lot of soft skills because we are doing more than just interacting and engaging transactionally with customers. You're problem solving, you're speaking and listening, you're meeting and exceeding expectations. It said meeting, but I know that we're all overachievers here, so we're exceeding those expectations. Resolving conflict. Please underline the word maturely in that box right there, because everybody is not there and everybody doesn't know how to resolve conflicts maturely. But I think it's essential in what we do in dealing in customer service to make sure that we do this on the high road. And responsibility and motivation, because nobody is there to tell you how to do your best. That is something that is expected. Ineffective communication is useless. It does, if I'm calling Smithville Chamber of Commerce and Smithville Chamber of Commerce, how may I help you? I need to speak with April. Oh, I don't know when she'll be back. She's been at lunch. April would die because that's not the way you handle that professionally.
Yes, that would not be an acceptable way to answer that call. Absolutely.
Exactly. I don't know where April is. No. She's talking to that lady who always comes in and complains. That's not something one should ever hear on the phone when answering and communicating questions. So how, or if we're talking with Gina's in Elgin, and all of Elgin is ready and doing the things that she's doing, oh well, they closed up early, I don't know, what? No, that's not acceptable. So we have to speak concisely, because every word that we have count. These are negative phrases, and we don't want to ever use negative phrases.
Well, and I'm sorry.
Go
One
ahead.
of my things is when people use a bunch of pronouns.
Yes.
I start going, what are they talking about? What exactly is this not happening for this part, or this is happening for that part? That's what drives me insane, because then I stop. I'm trying to figure out the conversation rather than being able to understand, take in, and participate in the conversation.
That's right. And so
We do a lot of,
go ahead.
I was saying, we do a lot of assuming, and we start conversations in the middle, and we don't start conversations at the beginning when there's new people in the conversation. And I find that a lot, and it's very frustrating because you don't know what's going on and you don't have all the information that everyone in the discussion may have.
So how do we do that? How do we say it? And how do we get everybody on the same page and use words or tone that don't come off negatively, that are affirming and engaging and welcoming people in? How do we do that?
We have to be intentional about it. And I think that you have to be aware of your surroundings, and you have to, I say all the time, let me start at the beginning of the conversation. And when you're around people that are from different backgrounds or different environments than you don't use acronyms, and you don't use industry jargon. And so it does take effort, but I've found that it's well worth it. And it's just something that everybody deserves that type of treatment. So it's important to do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. We begin with an agreement. So whether that means going back to the beginning, whether that means that, I put the kibosh on industry slang or jargon at the beginning, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to be talking about the TIF zone, which is tax increment financing zone, or I'm going to be talking about whatever, and I give the explanation. But if someone does join, then I go back and say, hey, I'm just kind of, and it doesn't require you to rehash the whole conversation. Give me a snippet and a synopsis of what you're saying so we can go on. So again, the goal is to feel helped, appreciated, respected, understood, heard, and liked. But, getting to the positive things and being cooperative and showing sincerity in our conversation. Clarifying your positions, and making even conflict self-focused, take some of the sting off of the person you're communicating with, and so that way they don't feel criticized or undermined. But it allows space for common agreement and talking about again, how we say things. When we don't know the answer, don't lie. I don't have the answer for that, but if you'll allow me some space and a little bit of time, I will get it for you. Or, I don't have the answer to that. If, let me make a call and get back with you. But, whether the worst thing you could ever do is to tell somebody something that isn't true, because it puts you in a bad position and undermines how folks perceive us. One, in the hospitality industry, two, as industry leaders, because that just, it negates everything we've done. So just, if you don't have the answer, I don't know I don't know, and know are words that we use in our love language. So I encourage you to use them. We talked a little bit about the telephone. Please, thank you, and you're welcome go so far. I told you, my whole thing with Beatrice at Nordstrom's. Now, again, I haven't lived in Houston in 6 years. Is Beatrice at Nordstrom still forefront in my mind? Absolutely. Why? Because she said, Andrea, it is my pleasure. And she did every single time. And I love Beatrice. If I saw her today, I'd give her a fist bump or an elbow, because again, COVID. But I heard the smile on her face when she answered the phone. She told me who she was. She engaged me in that way so that if I had questions and I needed to refer to her, I could. You know, she was thankful, pleasant tones. What is this? Let's see. These are things. Speaking of pleasant tone of voice, research shows that how you say something, how you say it, accounts for 93% of the meaning of the message, while only 7% is accounted by what you actually say. I in my fun time, my part-time job, I may or may not tell you some terrible things, but I'm going to say it with a smile on my face, and I'm going to say it in a manner that's not condescending, but I want you to know that while this was a mistake, and I'm very unhappy about it, I don't want you to take it as a personal affront to you, because we can move on from this. So it's about tonality, and it's about how you deliver. When you leave messages, you know, give all the information, because it's important that you really want people to get back to you. And always ask, is there anything else you can do? Um, Communication is key. You know, we've just done a whole big thing at THC with the trails about your signature feature, because you want everybody to know how to get in contact with you in every avenue that you have in your signature. Um, Making sure the other one says it's about how you email your boss. You know, that the immediate mistake I see, because it says, "Hey, Mark, I had to leave work early." No, no, we're not going to talk about you first. We're going to talk about the things that you did first, you know, because, you know, the Blake has said, I got your reservation done. I did all the things that you like. But you led with you buried the lead. The lead was that you took care of the customer's needs. You know, we mentioned this earlier as far as how we engage in our written language, you know, making sure that you check for spelling, grammar mistakes. You read it as if you need to read it yourself as the sender, as the reader would receive it, to make sure that, again, tone is clear, and that, you know, the message that you were trying to engage is conveyed. If a reply is necessary more than 3 times about the same topic, you know, we need to figure out another way. You need to call me, because if we've got to go six emails deep, you could have called me with that and saved us a whole bunch of time. And email responses are forever. Email and social media lives on forever, and so you need to be mindful about that as you go through.
Ouch.
Forever.
Ouch. Sometimes I get in a hurry and I'm just like zipping the answer back or shooting off that quick email, asking questions, and I'm not even thinking about any of that.
Well, that's why I'm here. Well, and I mean, the thing about it is we all do. It's not just you. It's all of us. Because I'm going to shoot a text, or I'm going to get an email, and I'm going to get that answer to you. And then I'm like, wait a minute. You know, so just everything you do, all of you put out 67 and a half fires in the past hour and a half, I'm sure. Take a breath before you do everything. And, you know you're not going to be able to run through all of this, but you'll get the high, you know, is this the best? The clearest question I think we can answer in immediate is this the best way to handle this? If you can say yes with that, go for it. Go for it. Be an effective listener. Andrea, when you're listening, I'm talking to me now. Don't even worry about y'all. Stop talking. Stop talking when you're listening, and don't listen to respond. You know, listen to engage. You're for customer service, you're listening to put the customer at ease. You're paying attention to those nonverbal clues. Remember, I told you what their face looks like. Are there anything, is there underlying currents that you could pick up on? You know, if you don't have your spidey senses, I need you all to try to connect with your spidey senses. If it is upsetting, if it's something that is a conflict, you know, make sure that you're holding your peace. You know, don't barriers to listening or half listening, like I said, being judgmental, jumping to conclusions, responding in anger. we're transactional in everything that we do. So we kind of have to bury ourselves sometimes. I know that when I'm in, and this is in everything, I have always maybe gone to my car, gone to the bathroom, gone to the porch, whatever it is, to get, if I'm angry about it, to get it out before I deal and engage with the people, because that's lasting. It's just like the cloud, it's never going away. And they will remember that. The people who you're dealing with will remember how you responded. How you do, not necessarily what you do, how you do it is important. Cultural awareness is something that I know that we're all engaging with, especially because there's our tapestry is so diverse and it's so deep in all of the people that we're engaging with. We need to make sure that we're understanding how to communicate and meet people where they are. I think if you accept that, you know, and again, that compassion and that grace at the very beginning, you know, engaging with people is no different than you would engage with yourself. But I think that's just something we should, you know, be top of mind on. You know, whether you're dealing with people who have different beliefs, whether you're dealing with people with different language barriers, different physical barriers, everybody, you know, at the end of the day, you know, wants to be treated with respect and engaging. So, you know, you're going to give them the things that they need. You know, what is considered impolite. And this is something that as you go deeper with your levels, you'll have more of an opportunity to get with. But, you know, what's appropriate and what isn't. If you're dealing with, you know, if it's language barriers, you don't have to speak louder, because if they don't understand the language that you're speaking, the volume is not going to help anything and it's patronizing. So don't do that. If you're dealing with someone with a disability, whether it be vision or hearing impaired, don't speak to the person who is with them, helping them. Talk to them. Find a way to communicate with those people, because that's the customer you're engaged with. But the number one goal is treat everyone with respect. Your goal is a satisfied customer or a repeat visitor. And so you want everybody to get what they came for. You know, we kind of talked about these courtesies with disabilities. But lastly, and I know we're going fast, and because we're at time. Your last impression is as important as your first impression. I didn't even realize this until I thought about this. Now, please excuse the morbidity of it all, but I have a friend who's a funeral director, okay? And she said something to me that just spoke volumes. She said, the last responders are on call and as important as first responders. I had never thought about that. You know, never in my life thought about the people at the funeral home being last responders. And, you know, that they have to be there for, you know, all of the things that happen at the end of this person's life. And I bring all that to say, at the end of a conversation and communication with someone, how they walk away from you is what's going to carry you. Just like I'm talking about Beatrice 6 years later, just like April is not going to that restaurant 3 years later in her town that she is with the chamber of, means something. So what are you going to do to make sure that your last impression is as important as your first?
Just to clarify, the restaurant's in Bastrop, and I'm the head of the Smithville Chamber.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
Smithville.
To be clear,
That restaurant's in
To
Bastrop.
make you feel better, there's tons of restaurants in Bastrop that I wouldn't go to because of bad service experiences.
I
So
mean,
it's
you know,
just a rampant
I
problem.
don't think any city is alone, because Waco has its own. But some of the things that we want to make sure we walk away with, you know, you're asking what, you know, just like today, before we leave from here, I'm going to ask that you know, give me some feedback. You know, ask how everything was. If you know, got something out of it, you know, share it. With the person first, not the world. I always give people a chance to correct themselves. So before I slander you on social media, I'm going to ask that you correct the things that I wasn't satisfied with. That's courtesy. That's grace. That's compassion. Did you get everything? Did the visitors get what they needed? You know, do they feel good about the choices to do business with you? You know, you know what? I really enjoyed, you know, Miss Alvarez's whatever, or, you know, Miss Hunter gave me some excellent eye contact. You know, she laughed at my jokes. all of the things that made me feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And I'm going to go back to wherever she is because she made me feel good. You know, and you need to make sure that you thank them for coming and invite them back. Um, we've got six easy traits, easy things that will, you know, get us to a point where we're continuing to engage. You know, we're making our good first impressions. We're showing our far smarts by demonstrating knowledge. We're communicating properly, giving people the information and opportunities that they have to learn. And we're listening. We're with our active ears, not passive ears, giving complete attention, dedicated attention to our customer, our visitor. We are showing respect with our cultural differences by engaging and treating people, you know, as we would like to be treated. And lastly, we're striving to make a good last impression and encourage people to return and thank them for their presence. Just as I do all of those things with you, I offer my thanks for your time. You had a lot of places and things that you could be doing during your lunch, but the fact that you chose to spend it with me is important. I'm especially thankful to April with the Smithville Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. Also, my board member, Gina Carter, for all the work and dedication that she does with her city. I'm so glad that she encouraged her folks to come, as well as the folks in Smithville and Bastrop area. Taylor, I heard anything else that we can do as the Brazos Trail region for you, we're here for you. My information is here in this contact. I will always make sure that you have that shared through April. And if there are any questions, I would love to take them at this time.
So if anyone would like to, as our instructor has said, would like to ask some questions, please feel free to do so. There have not been any entered into our chat box, but please feel free to just come right in and ask any questions that you like.
That is evidence of an excellent presenter. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, that's a good segue for me. This is not a question, but I'm so grateful for what you covered today, Andrea, because as you said, coming back with the COVID fog and the library has been open the whole time, but some of our patrons haven't come back. And so we have to have that compassion and grace and recognize that when they come in for the first time. And so I'm going to have all of my staff watch this training because I think it's very important for the refresher that we need.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And I
I can
appreciate
only
you
say
all
one
standing in
thing.
the gap. Ma'am?
That last slide about the 6 things for Texas hospitality, there really should be 7 because the 7th should be say y'all a lot.
That part. I always forget sometimes when I travel that my Texan it beats me there. It beats me there. And but you know that's what makes us colorful. That's what makes us authentic.
All right, well, it sounds like, and we actually are just a couple minutes over, but that's okay. This was such a wonderful and engaging program. Again, on behalf of the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce and the Smithville Public Library, we want to thank Andrea Bearfield for being here today and giving us such a wonderful and quite entertaining presentation, which is in and of itself just a fantastic testament to what she does and her obvious grasp of the subject that she provided today. Thank you, Andrea. And for those of you that are interested in rewatching this or sharing it, as Judy said, with her staff, it will be up by this afternoon at smithvilletx.org. Simply visit that website and go to the very top of the page. You'll see one of the drop-down menus says events. Just click on that and you'll see all of our virtual training is right there on that page. We'll also receive, as Andrea said, she'll be sharing some handouts with us that we will make available to you on that same page as well. All of our previous classes are also listed on that website. So you can go back and watch any of those at any time. And you can also check on there for all of our upcoming classes, which we're offering, about 25 more classes in this series through the end of August. So again, thank you so much. And I appreciate you all being here. And that's the end of our program. Thank you.